I knew this was going to happen. I knew these damn extremists, the Floyd Mayweather extremists, are going to come out and they were going to bash Triple G's pay-per-view numbers. I knew they were going to do it. To me, their bashing of Triple G proves my point that they can't be logical at all. Okay? But before I get into all that, let me just say this. All right? Before the pay-per-view was announced, right? Any logical fan, including myself, said that, you know what, this guy's a rising star. This is his first pay-per-view. I would predict that he does anywhere between 100,000 or maybe 200,000 buys to start off with. Okay? And the reason why I'm saying that because he wasn't fighting a marquee name. He was fighting a respectable champion, David Lemieux, one of the hardest punchers in the middleweight division. That's being avoided by most people. So, yeah, let's give it a shot and see where it goes. Okay? Now, the fight was good, even though it was one-sided. But the numbers came out, the estimate as they call it, the numbers came out and it turned out to be 150,000 buys. Okay, I say that's fair. But, you know, some people are bashing it saying, oh, that's a failure. That's a failure because, you know, he's a high train. He's supposed to be a very popular boxer. He's only drawing $150,000. I'm like, oh, I mean, excuse me, 150,000 buys. Floyd Mayweather can do that in his sleep and all that stuff. I'm like, well, first of all, let me give you a reality check on that, okay? To build a superstar fighter, it takes time, okay? It takes time. It takes marketing dollars. And as soon as he builds enough revenue per fight, then you can spend more money on him to draw more people in. All right, that's how it goes. It takes time. It takes steps. Let me give you an example. Floyd Mayweather, okay? His first pay-per-view was in 2005. It was against Arturo Gatti, all right? Now, Mayweather was still been unknown because Arturo Gatti was known for his wars with Arturo Gatti and Ivan Robinson, all right? And his war with Oscar De La Hoya. Now, he was the draw. He was the headliner of that pay-per-view, okay? Yes, Floyd gave us a spectacular performance. He got Gotti out there in 6 rounds, all right? He dominated him, all right? But that pay-per-view only drew under 300,000 buys, okay? So it wasn't that great. Now, his other pay-per-view bout was against Zab Judah. Again, Judah was the headliner, not Floyd. And that pay-per-view drew under $300,000. Not that good. And then his other pay-per-view was against Carlos Baldomir. Okay, and that pay-per-view drew under 300,000 buys. All right, not that great. So what did Floyd have to do? In order for him to get himself out in the public, to make him a pay-per-view cash cow, he have to go after the number one guy. Now, who was the number one cash cow fighter at that time? Oscar De La Hoya. So what he had to do is go after him, get a fight with him, and come out a victor. And once you do that, then that puts him on the pedestal of being a pay-per-view king. So that's how it came about. But despite all that, Mayweather's future bouts against cherry-picked opponents such as Robert Guerrero, Victor Ortiz, and Marcos Maidana twice, whatnot, those pay-per-views turned out to be a failure. Okay? Turned out to be a failure to the degree because Floyd Mayweather himself had to realize that it doesn't take him to draw people to watch him. It takes another marquee fighter, a superstar fighter that people look up to and they follow. All right? So, with that being said, okay, Floyd Mayweather was not the pay-per-view king. I'm not denying that he drew more pay-per-view numbers than anyone else. I'm not denying that fact. I understand that. But what I'm saying is that the only way for him to break the pay-per-view revenue numbers like he did was to draw marquee names. And those marquee names were Oscar De La Hoya, Canelo Alvarez, and Manny Pacquiao. There you go. And he made a lot of money doing that. My hat's off to him. But did that put him on the pedestal of all of the all-time great fighters? No, it did not. And let me tell you why. Because first of all, his achievements and his accomplishments are nowhere near the ranks of Sugar Ray Robinson, Sugar Ray Leonard, who, by the way, was still the most watched fighter compared to Floyd Mayweather. I have data to back that up. So if you want to challenge me on that, so be it. Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield. All right. So I don't get that. Why are you guys ragging on pay-per-view numbers? I mean, are you using that criteria as alone is to judge a fighter for being great? I mean, come on, seriously? Well, let me tell you something. Mike Tyson was a guy who drew pay-per-view numbers at millions every time he fought. It didn't matter who he fought. He drew in millions of people, okay? And the reason why is because Tyson fought everybody. He brought excitement to his fights, all right? But at that time, nobody cared about pay-per-views. No one cared about that because that doesn't define your legacy or your athletic skills as a fighter. It doesn't do that. But why are we in a day and age that the only way we could judge a fighter's greatness is by the amount of pay-per-view revenues that the buys that they draw in? Man, you guys are so deluded. But you also negated the fact that, yeah, the Triple G numbers are not quite impressive. But yeah, it's what we expected. We expected it not to be high. Okay? Everyone expected that. But you guys negated the fact that Triple G sold out Madison Square Garden. 25,000 people were there. So you have to look at the numbers here, okay? I'm not an expert here, but I know logics and I know basic when it comes to accounting and mathematics. All right, let's look at this for a second. Triple G made $2 million for this fight, I believe. David Lemieux made over $1.5 million. So that's $3.5 million there, right? The pay-per-view, this is the actual number, the estimate now it stands at 150,000 buys, right? So let's say it does stick. If you sum it up, you multiply $50, which is $49.99, times 150,000 buys, that turns out to be it turns out to be $7 million and $7.5 million. Okay? Now the MSG sold out 25,000 tickets, all right? Let's say the average ticket was $80, right? So you take that number. Let me get a calculator here. Bear with me. Let's see. Damn, this thing's not working. Hold on. So, you take $80 times 25,000, right? That's $2 million right there. Okay, so if you add that, you count that, that's $10 million they made off the fight. And plus they made, well, that's $10 million total, including the pay-per-view revenues. All right? So if you count those factors, plus the $3.5 million they spent on both fighters here, and plus the other marketing costs, whatnot, so they probably did a net profit, but not as much, but they got a net profit out of the whole card together. Okay? So so they had some decent numbers for the fight for the first time. So you can't argue that. Now, opposed to Floyd Mayweather, the last bout, Andre Berto, that you guys are complaining that why we're shitting on it. Well, we had every reason to shit on it because the guy he fought didn't even deserve to be in ring with him. All right. Number two, yes, it did about, I think, 400,000 buys, right? So that is approximately, and the pay-per-view was $75. So if you take that number, that's $30 million. Okay. Yeah, you think that's great, but you forgot there's a problem there. Floyd Mayweather was paid a guaranteed $32 or $36 million, I believe. All right, and Andre Berto was paid $4 million. But let's say it was 32. He got 32 million. Andre Berto got 4 million. So that's $36 million right there. And then top it off, the MGM Grand didn't even sell out. There are about 4,000 seats left. So if you take those numbers right there, okay, they've already lost $6 million. Let me do the math here. They lost $6 million on the pay-per-view, and they lost another $12 million on the gate. So they lost about $18 million for that fight alone. Could be more, given the marketing costs that they put into it. So I don't understand why you guys are quick to assess a fighter's greatness based off their pay-per-view draw power. I don't get that at all. I mean, again, Mike Tyson was not assessed based off that alone. Yes, he drew a lot of people. Okay, but the fact is he was a great fighter because of his skill and the fact that he fought everybody. Yes, he didn't do well against guys like Lennox Lewis and Vander Holyfield and whatnot, okay? But the fact is he fought all comers, and he brought action-packed excitement into all his fights. So you can say what you want about Tyson, but that's a fact, all right? Even Tyson himself in his first pay-per-view only did about 100,000 buys, maybe 150, I believe. I don't know. Something around that neighborhood. But we do not assess a fighter based off that, okay? Again, I just don't get it, guys. I mean, help me out here. If you want to shit on Triple G, who actually made a net profit for the networks for that fight against Lemieux, then why aren't you guys shitting on Floyd for losing, cost Showtime so much money for the Andre Berto fight? In fact, he cost him so much money against the Marcos Madonas and Robert Guerrero fights. You guys don't want to take that to account. But, you know, it is what it is. But anyhow, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think. Signing off. Peace.